iPsycho was one of the most insane episodes of iCarly ever. It got huge ratings, with 7.5 million people tuning in to watch. And according to Dirty Dan Schneider himself, whenever he heard from fans, they would often bring up this episode and mention it being their favorite. So it's no surprise that just a year and a half later, they dropped a sequel episode called iStill Psycho. And I, for one, find it disturbing that after the events of the first iPsycho episode, Nora is somehow back loose and walking the streets again a mere 18 months later. iStill Psycho premiered as an hour-long special on New Year's Eve in 2011, and while it didn't pull in as many viewers as the original episode, with 5.5 million tuning in to watch, it still did better than average compared to the other season 4 episodes of iCarly. So I guess people thought there was no better way to kick off a new year than by revisiting a psychotic, deranged criminal from the past. Even though this originally aired as an hour-long special, it's currently on Paramount Plus as a two-parter, and part 1 ends off on a cliffhanger, with the iCarly gang realizing they've once again been captured by Nora. So I was excited to see how everything wrapped up in part 2. But part 1 ended with a sneak peek for part 2 of iStill Psycho, and yeah, let's just say it was a little more than a peek.
Next on iCarly.
Spencer!
Now I gotta get to the cops.
They're literally spoiling everything! The entire plot from start to finish. And if they're able to summarize part 2 within 60 seconds, why would I want to spend 25 minutes of my life watching that plot unfold? Who approved this promo? I'm goddamn pissed, but you know what? Despite having the entire second half of the special spoiled for me, I'm still gonna watch it and cover this episode for you guys. If you like this video, please be sure to throw us a like and maybe subscribe. And as always, if you have any other episodes or shows you want me to cover, let me know down in the comments. All right, let's dive in. The episode starts off with an iCarly skit, which ends abruptly because Sam didn't write an ending for the skit like she was supposed to.
Was supposed to come up with an ending, but she didn't.
I did not.
See you next time on the web, worldwide, except for Yerba, where they have no freedom. Lighten up, Yerba. Come on.
And fun fact, Yerba is actually the fictional island country the Victorious gang visits in the episode Locked Up. Spencer says he's gonna go soak his feet in some milk, which is not funny, and I really hate all the unnecessary foot references Dirty Dan constantly makes on his shows. Once he's gone, the kids all get an email informing them that Nora Dershlit is scheduled for a parole hearing next week, and I think this is the first time we hear Gibby's full government name.
Olympia Municipal Courthouse?
To Carly Shea, Samantha Puckett, Fredward Benson, and Orenthal Gibson.
That Gibby?
I guess.
The theme song plays, and it has Happy New Year's saved as one of the bookmarks since this episode did premiere on December 31st. Cut to Spencer actually soaking his feet in milk. I was really hoping that was just a weird throwaway line, and they wouldn't actually make him do it on camera, but there it is. And I bet Dan suckled his toes right after this.
Got milk.
Carly says they all have to go to Olympia to speak at Nora's parole hearing to make sure that psycho doesn't get released from prison. And it's kind of surprising Carly feels this way, because at the end of iPsycho, Carly is the one who says she feels guilty for calling the cops on Nora.
Maybe we shouldn't have called the cops on Nora.
She kidnapped us.
Yeah, but she just wanted friends. And she bought us Chinese food.
She'll have plenty of friends in prison.
But this time around, Sam has a little more sympathy since she's done some time in the slammer herself.
Maybe they should let her go.
What? Why?
Look, I've been in prison. It is not fun in there.
Then Tebow comes up the elevator and has to change into a proper suit because he's been staying with Freddie and Miss Benson and has to pretend to be a proper gentleman, or else Miss Benson would never let him live with them. Gibby enters and the live audience breaks into applause just upon seeing him.
Gibby!
And I agree with the audience. He's objectively the best character, and this is the respect he deserves. He shows the others an exact replica of his head that he got made at the mall, and later in the final episode of the series, you actually get to see the machine at the mall where he got his head made. The other kids tell him about Nora's parole hearing, and Gibby has a very forgiving attitude and thinks it's great that she's gonna be released. But Carly says, no, we are going to that hearing and we're gonna tell the court that she can't be released from prison. And it's kind of wild that Carly thinks she gets to decide for everyone and tell the whole group how to feel. Cut to Spencer hanging out with his girlfriend because he randomly just has a girlfriend in this episode who's never seen again after this episode? Okay. Tebow barges in and interrupts his date to demand to use Spencer's shower because Miss Benson has no hot water and only believes in warm water. He eats Spencer's spaghetti taco without permission, and yeah, Tebow is a jerk. Cut to the parole hearing where Nora tells the judge how terribly sorry she is for kidnapping the iCarly gang. And when it's the victim's turn to speak, Carly starts to say that consequences are important, but Nora keeps moaning, which cuts her off every time she tries to speak.
Without consequences, a person never learns to...
For some reason, these moans convince Carly to have a change of heart, and she says, just let her go. And that's it. Nobody else speaks, even though Sam, Freddy, and Gibby are there too. Their opinions don't fucking matter. And I can't help but notice, there's a sign right behind Nora that says no food or drinks. But clearly, everyone has a drink right in front of them. What's the point of the fucking sign then? The judge says that since Nora has had a pathetic life, and since the victims are forgiving, the court will take pity on her and release her immediately. And now would be a good time for the iCarly kids to bounce and make sure they have restraining orders in place now that Nora is back on the loose. But instead of doing that, they agree to go to Nora's house for a weird Norwegian supper coming home party thing. Are they slow? Before they leave, a security guard comes around asking if anyone has seen his taser.
Hey, anybody here see my taser?
Sam?
Oh, was this your taser?
First of all, that's pretty unfortunate considering the events that are about to unfold in this episode. That would have been real nice for Sam to have. Second, that security guard should probably be fired. How did he not notice someone pickpocketing his taser? What if bro was strapped and someone took his gun? Back with Spencer, he's about to play a new video game with his girlfriend when Tebow barges in on them again to complain about Miss Benson. I gotta say it, Tebow is in the wrong here. He should show some gratitude for Miss Benson. She opened her home to him, and instead, all he does is bitch. He also hits on Spencer's girlfriend right in front of him, which is very disrespectful.
What is your name again? You are fine.
He knows that is Spencer's girl considering he barged in on them making out in the last scene, so what's Tebow's deal? Also, in I Goodbye, Tebow tells Carly he likes hefty women.
I don't date little short girls. I like a woman with some heft. You know, some meat on her.
So it's kind of weird that he's into Spencer's non-hefty girlfriend, right? Miss Benson shows up and tells Tebow that she has to go to her sister's house and asks him to keep an eye on the apartment tonight while she's gone. As soon as she leaves, Tebow invites Spencer and his girlfriend over so they can play the video game over there. And Spencer is completely down for the group video game session, even though his girlfriend wants some alone time.
Why don't we let him play over there and you and I could play over here?
Oh, the game's over there!
Is Spencer a virgin? Back at Nora's house, we get some member berries to the original iPsycho episode.
Hey, Nora, remember when your clown had an aneurysm? Yes. Poor Craps.
They go over to the buffet spread and describe some of the Norwegian foods, and I gotta be honest, the descriptions of some of this shit sounded so disgusting and nasty.
Well, we have lutefisk.
Lutefisk.
It's dried codfish soaked in a lye solution for several days.
That's nauseating.
that I assumed it was all fake, but I looked it up and lutefisk is actually real. It's actually Norwegian and it's actually dried cod soaked in a lye solution like they're describing. I'm not happy about this, and I'm sorry to any Norwegians out there. I'm sorry. Back at Freddy's apartment, Miss Benson forgot something, so she comes through the door and catches T-Bo being rowdy and playing video games with Spencer and his girlfriend. Why did T-Bo change into his groovy smoothie uniform to chill and play video games with friends? I can understand not wanting to stay in the suit. I get it, but why a work uniform when he clearly does not have a shift right now? T-Bo's finally had enough and confesses he's not fancy, he doesn't wear suits, and even reveals that nobody calls him Terrence and that he only goes by T-Bo. Miss Benson is shocked and appalled and tells him to get the hell out. And honestly, I'm on her side. He disrespected her and lied to her. Get his ass out of here. Spencer shows up at Nora's house to take the kids home, and he says he desperately has to pee. So Nora's mom takes him down to the basement. You know, the same basement they were kidnapped and held hostage in the first time they were here. The iCarly kids thank Nora for dinner, and Carly says, well, I guess this is goodbye. And Nora says, yeah, you dumb bitch. No, it's not.
I guess this is goodbye.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, we really gotta get back.
Yeah, but you're not gonna.
Carly and Sam try to get through the door, but it's locked. Sam tries to bust open a window, but Nora reveals that the windows have been replaced by maxi glass, the same glass used on Nora's dad's studio from the original iPsycho, fun fact. Sam says, okay, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you then, you dumb hoe. But Nora reveals they have Spencer trapped on a torture wheel down in the basement, and if anyone tries to harm Nora or her mother, they'll rotate the wheel to torture him. Okay, couple of problems here. First one, when Nora's mom led Spencer down to the basement, how the hell did she get him strapped into the wheel? Did he hold still and just act obedient and let her do it? Because it makes no sense for a middle-aged lady to be able to physically overpower Spencer, force him into that position, and strap him in limb by limb, one by one. How the hell could she have done that? Second, Nora uses this spinning wheel as a threat to keep them from attacking. But to prove her point, she demonstrates by spinning the wheel. That means she's already doing the thing that she threatened to do. She can't do anything worse. It's already worst case scenario right this second. So why not just beat her ass and grab the remote? So part one ends with Spencer spinning around helplessly on the wheel of doom, as Freddy's voiceover says, next on iCarly.
Next on iCarly.
And literally the entirety of part 2 is completely spoiled. But since I've already complained about that, we're just gonna dive right into part 2. Let's go. So part 2 starts off right where part 1 left off, with Spencer spinning on the wheel of doom. That should be their cue to beat Nora's ass, but instead, Carly just calls her a nutcase. Sam points out that they're the ones who got her out of prison in the first place, and Nora says, true, but you guys also tainted the memory of my 16th birthday. So now we're gonna untaint it. And I just know Dirty Dan was chuckling to himself when he made this young actress repeatedly say the word taint.
You tainted the memory of my 16th birthday party!
So now, we're going to undo the taint.
Sam irritates Nora by calling her chicken stupid, and I do gotta point out that her chicken, Maurice, is clearly a hen, not a rooster, so basically, she has a girl chicken named Maurice. Okay. Nora starts spinning Spencer on the wheel again until Sam apologizes to the chicken, and then Nora stops the wheel again once she's satisfied. She then forces everyone to put on party hats. Why? The goal is recreating the original birthday party, right?
You tainted the memory of my 16th birthday party!
So now, we're going to undo the taint.
And nobody wore party hats in the first iPsycho episode at her 16th birthday party. Not a single goddamn person. Gibby says they should just take the remote away from Nora, and she says, bad idea, because if any of you make a sudden move for me, I'll hit the special red button on the remote that makes Spencer spin at top speed until his brain turns to goo. I also can't help but notice there's a slideshow of pictures from the original birthday party displayed on the TV. There was nobody nobody taking pictures. They're literally just stills from the episode, which should not canonically exist within the iCarly universe. Whatever though. Nora leaves the room and Sam whips out her butter sock to use as a weapon against Nora when she comes back in the room. And this marks the third appearance of Sam's butter sock after I Take on Dingo and I Party with Victorious, which is kinda crazy to me. I remember Sam's butter sock being a massive part of iCarly. To me, it's one of the most iconic things on the show, so I really have a hard time believing how little it was utilized throughout the series. It's kinda crazy. Gibby suddenly has an idea.
Hey, I know how Santa Claus would get out of here.
Oh, the chimney!
No. On a reindeer.
So they decide to use Gibby's replica head to make it look like he's napping on the couch, while the real Gibby climbs up the chimney to escape. Nora and her mom come back in with a cake, even though there was no cake at the original party, and they are really trash at recreating this party. And after Nora blows out the candles, she sexually assaults Freddy, kissing him against his will. And listen to how the live studio audience reacts to Freddy, a main character, being sexually assaulted.
That Freddy is gonna get kissed.
What? Those aren't the lyrics. I don't want. Oh, come on!
This is not an ooh moment. This is assault. Back at Miss Benson's apartment, she tries to kick Tebow out, but he remembers he has a lease and a right to be there. But Miss Benson shreds it, and it's kind of funny that she keeps a paper shredder right in the living room. Back at Nora's, Gibby somehow makes it to the top of the chimney with his arms completely down by his side. How in the world would this work? What are the physics of that? Did he climb up vertically, like without his arms, like wiggling like a worm? Gibby realizes he's basically stuck at the top of the chimney, and that's that. Back inside the house, Nora insists everyone eats some of her birthday cake, including Gibby, causing her to realize it's not the real Gibby, and in fact, just the replica head.
Now Gibby will eat some cake. Wakey, wakey, time for cakey.
So after threatening to once again sexually assault Freddy, Nora turns back on the Wheel of Doom to keep torturing Spencer. The iCarly boys are really the punching bags for all of Nora's wrath. I mean, come on, Carly's just there, and all Sam had to do was apologize to a chicken. Cut to Carly waking up. I guess it's the next day, and Sam, Carly, and Freddy all slept in jeans? Kinda crazy. Why not just try to escape all night? Why accept your fate? We also see that Gibby is still stuck at the top of the fireplace, and he's basically useless. Nora points out to them that Gibby has already been gone for 12 hours and hasn't rescued them yet, so it's unlikely he'll be saving their asses this time like he did last time. Nora's dad pops up out of nowhere, and the kids try telling him that his daughter and wife are psychotic and ask him for help.
It's been a living nightmare.
Well, that's terrible.
Correcto.
Nora, this is supposed to be a party. A birthday party. That will go on forever and ever. And ever.
And okay, did they really think this man was unaware that his wife and daughter are big old creeps? Of course he knew. Of course he's a creep too. Gibby calls down to some kids for help, and they recognize him from iCarly. But for some reason, instead of helping him, they throw tennis balls at his face. Nora keeps spinning Spencer on the wheel, and surely he's peed his pants by now. He said it was an emergency when he first arrived over 12 hours ago. Disgusting. Freddy realizes that he still has a tracking chip in his head that his mom could use to rescue them. And this is the same tracking chip that was mentioned in I Go to Japan. I don't know if it happened in a different episode, but in I Go to Japan, Freddy's mom specifically hides the tracking chip from him, and he never finds out that it was in his head during the episode. So for him to be aware of the chip in this episode's pretty weird.
How'd you find us?
Oh, Mrs. Benson had a chip. Chippewa. She had a Chippewa Indian show us the way.
The chip.
What chip?
The one my mom had surgically installed in my head when I was a toddler.
Sam tries assaulting Freddy to set off the emergency distress signal.
Mrs. Benson, help us!
And Freddy says they need to electrically short it out somehow. Sam says they could use the electric shock pen she stole from Spencer. Why the hell did Spencer have that?
No. Let Carly do it.
Why?
Because Carly cares about me. At least she'll try to be gentle. She won't just take the thing and stick it.
Sam then shocks him again when he's already unconscious on the floor. Back at Miss Benson's apartment, Tebow lets himself in and says he just needs to grab a few of his things and then he'll be leaving.
1 sec, I gotta get my shampoo out of the bathroom.
No! Just go buy some more!
I bought that in Jamaica. You can't even get it here.
It doesn't really make that much sense for Tebow to have left his shampoo in the bathroom because in part 1, he goes over to Spencer's apartment to take a shower and says he can't shower at Miss Benson's because she doesn't have hot water.
I need to use your shower.
Why can't you shower at your place?
Because Miss Benson don't believe in hot water. So all they have is a warm water heater.
Miss Benson gets the alert about Freddy's distress signal from his head chip, and I have to ask, did she get a replacement remote? Because in I Go to Japan, Spencer loses the remote by dropping it out of a moving car. Tebow offers to give Miss Benson a ride on his motorcycle because it'll be quicker, and she accepts. And honestly, I wish we would have got to see that. I'd love to see Miss Benson whipping through traffic on the back of a motorcycle. Sounds kinda dope. Back at Nora's, a disturbing forced game of pin the tail on Nora's actual ass is occurring.
Do it, Freddy! Get it on there good!
Who plays pin the tail on the birthday girl?
Yeah, and why is she wearing the blindfold?
You're a weirdo, Dirty Dan. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Sam screams, "Let us out!" Nora and her parents start to do this creepy forever and ever chant again, when suddenly Tebow and Miss Benson bust through the door on a motorcycle. What? First of all, Sam was just at the door literally 10 seconds ago. They came so close to killing her. Second, in the first iPsycho episode, we see the exterior of Nora's house, and I don't think this motorcycle stunt would have really been physically possible. There's stairs leading up to her front door, and I'm almost certain that going that speed and hitting some stairs would have caused them to flip right off the bike and break their necks. Miss Benson hugs Freddy, and the Derschlitz starts spinning Spencer on the wheel again in retaliation. And finally, Sam beats the shit out of Nora. Why could this not have been done 15 hours ago? But better late than never, I guess. Tebow easily kicks down the door to the basement. Again, awesome, badass, but why couldn't Gibby have done that 15 hours ago? He broke down the front door of the entire house in the first iPsycho episode, but he never even tried busting down the basement door in this one. And for that matter, Sam is seen busting down an entire door in the later episode, I Bust a Thief. So why couldn't she have tried busting down the door to the basement in the same way? So Carly unplugs the wheel to get Spencer to stop spinning, and she's lucky it just so happened to stop with him right side up, I guess. Tebow starts fighting with Nora's dad, and Sam goes to fight Nora and her mom. But they have the fireplace pokers as weapons, just like Nora in the first one when she tried to murder Gibby. So Miss Benson decides to intervene in a way that cannot be described with words.
You girls want a little taste of a Benson!
And fun fact, this is the first time the Fence and Bensons are mentioned ever since the original iFence episode, which was all the way back in season 1. Miss Benson stands on business and fights them both off at once, and it's pretty impressive, and a good payoff for this episode, honestly. The long fight scene between Gibby and Nora in the original iPsycho is pretty iconic, and I honestly thought it would be a tough act to follow, but watching Miss Benson kick some ass with those swords is probably just as good. Miss Benson tells Tebow that he's no longer kicked out since he helped save Freddy, and he can continue to rent the room out of Miss Benson's apartment for $400 a month. Sam stabs both Nora and her parents with the shock pen, and Nora's chicken Maurice stands on top of her unconscious body, just like he did in the original iPsycho episode after the fight with Gibby.
You and your freak parents are going to prison. Forever and ever and ever.
Except, not really though, because apparently there's a Sam and Cat episode called Super Psycho where she returns again. Although, to be fair, I've never seen that one, so maybe she's in prison during that episode. I don't know. Maybe I'll review it one day. Cut back to Carly and Spencer's apartment, where Spencer tells his dad on the phone that everyone's fine, and Nora and her parents have been arrested. It happened off screen again? I'm pissed! So we didn't get to see Nora get dragged off in handcuffs in either episode. Whatever. Suddenly, Carly jolts awake in bed and screams, "Gibby!" And yep, they forgot him. He's still in the chimney. Why didn't the cops see him when they arrested Nora and her parents? Did he just sit there in silence? Why didn't he scream down to them for help? Why are these kids still throwing tennis balls at him during a rainstorm? So many questions. Poor Gibby. And there you have it. So the message in the first iPsycho was, don't be nice to the weird kid because they might kidnap you. And the message in iStill Psycho is, don't forgive people. They don't change. And honestly, who hurt you, Dan? But actually, this is a pretty banger follow-up episode to one of the most memorable plots in the entire iCarly series. The scene at the end with Tebow and Miss Benson kicking some ass was a solid 10 out of 10. My really only complaint is that, just like in the original episode, we never get to see Nora get arrested. And also, they do Gibby so dirty in this episode. In the original iPsycho, he gets to be the hero and burst through the door and fight Nora and take her down like a total badass. But in this one, all he does is get stuck in a chimney. He doesn't bust down any doors, even though he has proven door-busting abilities, and he doesn't get to fight Nora or do anything cool. Plus, he gets forgotten about at the end and left in the goddamn chimney. To this day, it's unclear how they even got him out. I get why they didn't want to just repeat the same ending as the first episode, and I guess Gibby coming to the rescue again would have been too much of the same, but still, I wish they hadn't made him seem so completely useless, because that was just kind of upsetting to watch as a Gibby fan. There's also no Guppy in this episode, and I thought he added a nice charm to the original iPsycho episode, so it's a little disappointing. But it was fun seeing Nora be all crazy again. I appreciated the return of the chicken, and like I said, Miss Benson going all Fenson Benson at the end really makes the whole episode for me. But if I had to choose, the original iPsycho episode still has this one beat, I think. But enough of me yapping. What do you guys think of iStill Psycho? Do you think it's just as good as the original episode, or was Dirty Dan starting to lose his touch? Let me know how you're feeling in the comments, and let's kick it. And I gotta give a massive, psychotic shout out to my channel members and Patreon members. You guys are my boys! The Agro Army is growing stronger by the day, and together, we will take over the government. I got a little trivia question cooking up for you guys today. Where were Nora's parents during the first iPsycho episode? Huh? The first one to comment the right answer will get a special shout out in the next video. And if you're still here, nice. You're pretty damn cool. Maybe subscribe and check out some other videos. And hey, make sure you're double knotting your shoes this week. I got a feeling you might need to run from something at a moment's notice. All right, thanks for listening.